Hi, I'm Mark from Mark of the Cyberbeast, and this week I'm going to talk about some surprising things you did not know about owning a Cybertruck. So stay tuned. And welcome back. Well, it's a little cold here in South Carolina, but I wanted to do an episode and obviously film it around my truck, which I've named Mark of the Beast, pun on words. But I want to talk to you a little bit about why there's some surprising things about the Cybertruck, the features, why I bought it, why I think it's a good investment for many people. Not everyone, this isn't a truck for everyone, but I want to go over a video on this to give you my perspective. Now, some of you may know I'm a 35-year truck owner. I've owned nothing but pickup trucks my entire adult life, okay? I started with the older Toyota pickup, right? I don't think it had a name. It wasn't a Tacoma, it wasn't a pre-runner, it was simply the small Toyota pickup. Went through a few engines in that, and then got a Tacoma pickup. Went through a couple 100,000 miles on that, got another Tacoma pickup, and then I elevated my game. I went ahead and got my first Toyota Tundra, okay? Now that was a 4-door. 2 doors were the suicide doors. It was a limited, so it was a pretty nice package. It had a lot of features in it. But around 2012, I bought my Tundra Platinum. Now this was a $50,000 truck. It was a V8. It was the Platinum Edition, right? And it had everything in there you could think of. There was nothing it missed, okay? Love the truck. I still own it. In fact, we keep it in Florida because we've got a couple places in the Keys. Now we can fly down there, and it's right by the airport. I can pick up my truck and drive right to the Keys. So I still have my Toyota Tundra. It's got 230-something thousand miles on it. Still great truck to this day. So I'm coming to you from a perspective of a 35-year truck owner, and not many Cybertruck guys can say that, okay? So why do I own pickup trucks? Why have I only owned pickup trucks? Well, I do a lot of towing, whether it's jet skis and boats, trailers. I have an enclosed trailer, I have a utility trailer, I tow, okay? Also, I love using this thing because I raise my tonneau cover and I use the bed. I'll go to Home Depot and I'll load it up with plants, with wood, PVC, you name it. I use the bed of this truck. So I have to have a truck. I can't have a Corvette or anything fast, but here's the thing. I miss speed. I used to have a sports car back when I was 21 for a short period of time. And it was fun to drive, but you couldn't tow a jet ski with it. So the great thing about the Cybertruck for me is I get to relive the speed, but still have the practicality of having a bed and the ability to do what I can. In fact, one of the things I use this for, I've got something called a hitch hauler, and it goes in the hitch receiver, and it comes out kind of like those carriers you see, and I slide my jet ski on here. I don't have those big, 1,000-pound 3-person skis. I have the older, smaller 1-person skis, and I stick that in the back, and it allows me to go ahead and go to the ramp, drop it right in, and I can park without having to worry about a trailer, which is very, very cumbersome. So shout out to Easy Hitch Haulers, because that's what I use, and I love their products. So that's one of the reasons why I have only trucks, because the other reason is, I'll be completely honest, I am rough on vehicles. I have a tendency to maybe go over a curb, maybe floor it a little bit, and when I was 18, 19, I went through my share of vehicles just because I'm rough on them. Trucks, you can beat them senseless, and they just absolutely take a beating, okay? So is this rugged, this is durable? I am not an off-roader, okay? I use my truck for work. Again, I manage properties, so that's what I use my truck for. I don't use it as a toy. And the other thing too, you need to understand, I don't buy vehicles because of what they are. To me, it's not a status symbol at all. For me, having a truck is practical. And that's why, when you buy a vehicle, the first thing they do is depreciate, right? As soon as you drive it off the lot, this thing's depreciated. And the thing is, I know that. And I make a decision of a vehicle based upon sound financial advice. And I do my homework. And so this truck, really, it's something that, it's not a status symbol. I didn't buy this to be cool. I bought it because what I'm going to tell you in the next several steps is the reason why I bought this truck, because I was ready for a new truck anyway. 230,000 miles. You got to start wondering, okay, when's this Tundra gonna die? Okay, the Tundra I had previously had about 215,000 miles. The problem was I was pulling a trailer, some winds came, and the trailer wasn't loaded properly, and I flipped the truck twice. Luckily, I walked away from it. The Toyota was safe. I love that about that truck, but I totaled it. So I had to buy a new one, so I got that Toyota Platinum Edition 4-door Crew Max. But I still have that truck, and I bought this. Now, one of the things I love about this Cybertruck is the 4-wheel steering, okay? You can see, hopefully, this wheel's kind of turned this way, okay? Where in the passenger side, it's turned like you would make, if this was a front wheel, a left turn. And so the rear wheel steering is absolutely freaking amazing, okay? With my Tundra and even my Tacoma, the turning radius on any pickup truck sucks, okay? That's why you always see trucks backing into spots, because the turning radius is horrendous. With the 4-wheel steering, I no longer have to back into a spot. Now, sometimes they do it out of habit or where I'm located, but it's so cool that now I can go headfirst into a spot, just like my wife's Model 3 Tesla or any of the other cars we used to own. My wife had a Toyota Camry and a Chevy Corvette, and those vehicles were great for going head in. But with this Cybertruck, I can also go, head into a spot. I don't have to back in. Now, the other thing I absolutely love about this Tesla, and this is a Cybertruck, but all Teslas, as you know, hopefully you know, the safest vehicles on the market. Now, the truck is real cool because with trucks, they have a tendency to be top heavy and flip. They had to really, really try, and all the tests to try to get it to flip. They had weight in the bed, they were going sideways and spinning out, and this thing is absolutely hard to flip. Same thing with all the other Teslas, and the reason why, many of you may know, this is designed as what's called a skateboard design, okay? The battery, which is very heavy, is at the very bottom of the truck, okay? That keeps the center of gravity very low, because in trucks, the center of gravity is usually pretty high. And as you see with SUVs, there's often rollovers with them. You're not going to see that with the Cybertruck. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. The way people drive, I'm sure it's very possible. But it's very unlikely unless you're doing something absolutely stupid. With all the other Teslas, the 3, the Y, there was a story out in California, a doctor and his family were the Model Y. Now, unfortunately, he drove off a cliff trying to take his own life and he'd take his family with him. Fortunately, though, the car saved their life. They went down a couple hundred feet, everyone survived. Now, they were injured, but they survived. There was recently on X, I saw a vehicle on top of a Model 3 or a Model Y on top of the glass roof. I don't know how it got there in the accident, but the vehicle got sprung on top and the glass roof stayed intact. This glass roof is absolutely just stronger than you can imagine, okay? So between that and then also the side windows on the Cybertruck, they're not bulletproof, but I'll tell you, they're pretty darn strong, stronger than other vehicles. The body, the thickness of this thing, you got to realize this is stainless steel, part of the same material, same type of alloy that they use in the SpaceX rockets. This is twice, and on some vehicles, more than twice the thickness of a typical vehicle, and it's a stainless steel alloy that's pretty darn durable. It's not aluminum or anything else or plastic. This is just hardcore, okay? So the safety aspect of this truck is huge. I can't stress that enough because look, you're carrying the most precious cargo. You and your family and your dogs. Your dogs are included in your family. And I want my wife, I want me, I want my dogs. God forbid we get into an accident. I want to walk away from it and not be hurt. Just like I walked away from that Tundra when it flipped over twice and all I had was a seatbelt mark and I was fine, even though all the windows are blown out and it looked horrendous. In fact, if I can find some pictures on my Google Drive, I'm going to put them below and show you how bad that truck was, okay? but I didn't load the trailer all that well, and the thing flipped over. Now this truck, the other safety portion of it, besides the glass, besides the stainless steel and the thickness, low center of gravity, is just the fact that you've got some features on here that no other cars have, okay? Tesla has FSD. This is version 13.2.2, which is the latest release. Now this FSD is absolutely amazing. FSD is full self-driving, okay? Now this is still supervised, so your eyes have to be on the road or your hands on the wheel, and you should always be prepared to take control of your vehicle. But with FSD, I'm able to let the car, or the truck in this case, use all of its cameras it has. There's a camera in front down below, right here by the bumper. There's one up here by the top. Front bumper, side, rear on both sides. And also I've got another rear view mirror here on top of the tonneau cover, okay? So there are several cameras, and they're all seeing everything around you at all times. And this vehicle has a computer system built into it, and it uses AI. FSD was trained by watching millions and millions of hours of good drivers, okay, and what to do. Originally, they had code that it was 400,000 lines of code, which pretty much told the car how to drive. And while it did a good job, it wasn't perfect. So that's when they decided to use AI. And that change happened from version 12 to version 13 in most of the vehicles with the hardware 4. This Cybertruck has hardware 4. About 5 years ago, there was hardware 3. Now there's some differences in there, but for the sake of this video, we're just gonna stick with the basics. This FSD is just flat out amazing. Imagine if you had eyes 360 around your vehicle while you were driving. To me, that's safer than my 2 eyes pointing out front. And so I trust the FSD. Now again, I'm always here, right, to take control of it and make sure that it's driving safe, but I've used this thing, I use it every day when I go to the gym. I put it on when I go to the gym, I put it on when I come home from the gym, okay? And I just try to get used to using it. Now this week, I'll be filming a video because we're going from North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to Atlanta and back. And I want to shoot the video with a GoPro in the truck and show you just how good the FSD is in this vehicle. So for me, it's a safety standpoint. There's been statistical numbers that Tesla has shared that there's been more hours driven with FSD without accidents than people to like 10 times. So basically putting it in FSD is 10 times safer than you driving yourself. And I'll take those odds because I know how I drive. Plus, I have a tendency to get a little heavy on the foot. Okay, so this keeps you safe, keeps you at a respectable distance with other vehicles. It'll change lanes, it'll turn, it'll go into parking lots, okay? This thing is absolutely amazing. In fact, if you've never been in a Tesla that's used FSD, you need to check it out. You'll be impressed with the technology, okay? Like I said, my wife's owned her Tesla Model 3 for 5 years, and back then FSD was basically highway, right? You can go straight with it, and it would keep a distance, and pretty much what we see in all the other cars now. This turns everywhere, makes U-turns, left turns, you name it, okay? This drives like a person. Now, we've gone through the safety aspect of it. Now I'm going to talk about some practical things, okay? Now, one thing I absolutely love about this, I mentioned this is at least twice the thickness of a regular vehicle, and it's that stainless steel like SpaceX uses. When I go to a parking lot, I don't have to worry about a shopping cart going into it or somebody opening up their car door, which, you know, in 6 months I've seen it happen. I'll talk to you about that in 1 second. The people open up their doors and bang into you, but there's no paint to scratch. There's no dings. So, you know, it's not that I encourage people to hit me, but I'm not scared. I'm not parking at the back of the parking lot like a guy with a brand new Corvette because I don't have to worry about that. Now, the cool thing about all these cameras with the Cybertruck and with all Teslas, it has something called Sentry, S-E-N-T-R-Y, Sentry. Now what that is, it's a little bit different than a car alarm. It keeps the cameras rolling at all times so that if anyone goes near the vehicle, it'll start recording. and it'll keep those so when you come back in your vehicle, you can see if someone went up to your car. And I see this a lot. People come up to the car and they'll look in. They want to see what's inside this Cybertruck. They're curious, and I don't mind them looking in. It's no big deal. In fact, I can see it, but I know you can't with the camera. But in there, if I look in, there's an owl with red eyes, right? And it's on the screen, so it's a real big 17-inch screen in there, and it lets people know, hey, we're watching you. Okay. So the cool thing is if someone were to damage my vehicle, at least I've got video of it. It doesn't do any audio, which I wish it did, but while you're driving, if you hit your horn, okay, or if you get into an accident, you have that video to pull from because it's always recording. So, you know, there's always 3 sides to every story, right? What one driver said, what another driver said, and what the video said. And the cool thing about the video, doesn't lie. That's running the whole time, especially if you hit the horn. And so if anything were to happen, you always have that video to go back to. I absolutely love that. So, you know, you feel safe. You don't have to worry about scratching the vehicle or dings in it. It comes out pretty well. Now, those are some of the cool features. There's practical reasons, but there's some cool features. But now I'm going to get into the numbers of things. I hope I don't bore the snot out of you. I'll try to keep it entertaining. But there's something called ROI, return on investment. Now, this is one of the reasons why my wife got a Tesla Model 3, even though she had a Camry hybrid, okay? And this is why I went from my Tundra to this, because I looked at the new Tundras. The new Tundras right now, with the new standards, there are no V8s. You know, the Toyota is only a V6. And they've got some hybrid and flex fuel option crap. And for $80,000, okay, the vehicle does not drive itself. It doesn't have Sentry, okay, and it doesn't have a V8. So I'm going to spend, you know, close to that same amount of money, not have those features. I was like, I don't know. Let's see what the return on investment is. Numbers don't lie. Pulled out the spreadsheet, and we did this with my wife's Camry, okay? Now, I don't recall what the numbers were with my wife's Camry exactly, but all I knew is that within 4 years, that a new Tesla would be cheaper than continuing to own, and we bought the Camry flat out, so there's no payments on it, but to continue owning it, because there's gas, there's oil changes, there's tune-ups, right, and any other maintenance that goes along with it, that you don't always have with an EV like a Tesla. So I ran my spreadsheet. Now my Tundra, you got to realize I took premium gas. To fill that thing up was $100. And I'd fill up at least once a week, okay? Depending how much I drove. Sometimes it's every couple days, sometimes it was once a week. Average about every 5 days, okay? Do the math on that. Gas alone was killing me. Now, an oil change for that vehicle, because it uses synthetic fuel, is about $125, $130, okay? And you have to do that, obviously, every, 5,000 miles or so, 3,000 miles, whatever it was. I forgot because now I'm all tuned into EVs. But you have the oil change, and then you've got the tune-ups. Now the tune-ups, you don't have to worry about with an EV. Tune-ups in an ICE or internal combustion engine, you know, roughly in a $600 range. And every time you go to the dealer, guess what? There's always something they find. Oh, you're missing this. This is low. You need to add this. So while the tune-up may be $600, the reality is the total cost of ownership, you know, it's higher than that. That $600 tune-up visit was usually a $1,000 visit for me, especially when they had to replace brakes. Now, brakes in my Tundra, they were several $100s to the front and the rear brakes. Now, I know what you're going to say, Mark. There's brakes in EVs as well. Yes, there are, but there's two things. There's something called regenerative braking, and there's also something called not using your brakes with an EV. With regenerative braking, what happens is you let off your gas, okay? And it's like a golf cart, if you've ever been in a golf cart. It starts slowing down on its own faster, and it uses that speed that you're slowing down with from high speed to lower speed. It uses that energy to go back into the battery and charge the battery. Now also too, with the braking, when I said you don't use the brakes, because it drives more like a golf cart, the reality is you only really hit your brakes if you have to slam them on. You know, someone cuts you off or you miss the turn, you have to hit the brakes. I rarely hit my brakes. In fact, I think I've hit them like twice this week, okay? There are people that have gone over 100,000 miles and their brakes are still like factory, okay? It's not uncommon to go well over 100,000 miles on a Tesla and even more than that without ever needing new brakes, okay? So again, you factor those things in. Now, one thing else I'm gonna share. I'm in North Myrtle Beach, okay? And I had a Toyota. There is only one Toyota dealership near me. I won't say the name, but you can easily go to Google and find out who it is. Wilmington's an hour or so away, Charleston's 3 hours away, Florence is an hour away. That's a heck of a drive just to go for service. And I'm one of those guys who will go ahead and I want to get all the service done at the manufacturer, at the dealer of the manufacturer, because when I go to sell the vehicle, I want to have a stack of all my receipts, oil changes, tune-ups, any and all service to be from the dealer. And when I do that, when I sell my vehicle, I get top dollar because the vehicle looks pristine. Plus I have all the receipts, all the service work done from the manufacturer, from the dealer, I should say. And it does get you more money. So I prefer not to go to the small local shop, the small local mechanic. I go to the dealer. My dealer in the Myrtle Beach area, absolutely freaking horrendous. I've told them that on multiple occasions, pretty much every time I go there. They've flat out lied to me on things. Like there was one time where they told me that the lug nuts for the, because I always get my tires there and I get them rotated every time. I get an oil change, so they're always rotated on a regular basis. But they said, oh, the lug nuts seem stripped, you know, someone didn't put them on properly. Bro, it was you. You're the only ones that take the tires off. So they had to charge, they charged me all this money for new lug nuts for all the tires that they screwed up, okay? That was one of the things. There was other things too that they did that when you go and sit there at that dealership and you hear the same story, they come up to every single person. Hey, by the way, we were checking out your vehicle and we noticed this. Oh, well, that's an extra $250, but we suggest you get that. Every single time. Now I get it. Not everyone takes care of their vehicle. I take care of my vehicle. And if you were to tell me every single time I go in there, there's some little thing wrong. Oh, well, you're low on this, or this needs to be changed out. And I think the last straw for me, I got kind of loud with the manager. They said I needed to replace my air filter. And I said, okay, well, how much is an air filter? And I forget the price. Let's just say it was $30. And I figure, okay, well, that's roughly the same price. I would go to Advanced Auto or AutoZone and get a new air filter and just do it myself. And I said, oh, $30? I said, that seems reasonable. He said, well, there's labor too. I said, well, how much labor? And it was like $60 in labor. So I asked him, I said, well, you're telling me this because you looked at the air filter and you deem it needing replacement, right? He said, yes. So the filter's already out, right? He said, yes. So half the work is done. Yes. Okay, so if I say no, you're gonna put the filter back in and you're not gonna charge me for anything and I have to go do it myself. He said, yes. So now you're gonna charge me $60 in labor to do what you're already doing, even though I'm already buying the filter from you. He's already going through the steps of replacing the air filter, okay? He's not replacing it, he's just putting mine back in. But he was gonna charge me $60 in labor to do that. And I think that was a bit disrespectful. So I told him, put it back in. You're not gonna charge me $60. I'll go do it myself. It's 4 clips, they pop open, lift it up, put the new one in. It takes all of about 3 minutes. Any guy out there who's ever changed an air filter, no, it takes all of about 3 minutes. And to charge me $60 after the filter is already out, took a big set of brass ones, if you know what I mean. So I was not gonna buy another Toyota. And I looked at the other trucks out there and I was not gonna buy GM. I think their time is limited. Yes, I'm a Tesla advocate, but also I realized that Mary Barra is running that company into the ground. I think Ford is probably the last American car company that's gonna survive. Wasn't a big fan of their trucks though. Even though the 150 and 250 are nice, it's a $100,000 truck, especially the Lightning. I have a friend of mine with the Lightning. This is a nice truck. I really like the frunk that it has. I like some of the features, but For the same price, I can get this, which has the FSD. It's safer. It's got something called Powershare, which is a cool feature I get for free because I was one of the Foundation Series owners. They're going to put something called a Tesla Gateway at my house, and we're going to do a video on this, okay, where I can plug in my charger into the Tesla Gateway, and it can power my house should I lose power. Now, I'm by the ocean, and we have hurricanes, and guess what? We lose power. So all I have to do is plug in my Tesla charger, and it's going to go ahead and power my house when the power's out for 3 days. 3! Now, we've got a generator already, but this adds more to it. So, and it came with the truck for free. The installation came for free. It was $2,500 for the Powershare and charger, $4,000 for the install, but that all came with the Foundation Series. So being an early adopter does have its privileges. So, you know, I got that. I got some other perks with it, and it was the same price roughly as the Ford Lightning, and I got the FSD. You know, for me, I kind of liked something new. You know, 35 years of having a white pickup truck, they've all looked the same. Some have been bigger than others. But to finally get a truck that actually looks different than any other pickup truck I've ever owned, I'm like, okay, where do I sign up? So at the night of the launch, it was a funny story because I go to bed like 8:30 because I go to the gym at like 5:30. So the launch obviously is on Pacific time. It was at 11 o'clock, and I was not going to wake up or stay up. So what I did was I woke up at 5 o'clock to get ready to go to the gym. I looked at the truck at the reveal. I saw it, and I'm like, hope it grows on me. Went online, put the $100 down to reserve it, waited 4.5 years, and I finally got my email that said, hey, time for the rest of your money and to order your truck. So it was worth the wait. I wanted it so bad though. I was patiently waiting for years, but it was worth it. I'm very happy with this truck. Now, this week I told you I'm going to Atlanta for a couple days. Atlanta from here is about a 6-hour drive. It's probably around 300 miles. With my Tundra, with a full tank, I'd still have to stop, you know, maybe 90% of the way there and fill up again. So if you go back to my video and remember, it's $100 to fill up, plus I had to fill it up again. So probably $150 in fuel, $140 maybe in fuel to go from Atlanta to North Myrtle Beach. I'm going to charge this up at home, which is dirt cheap. I think it's 14 cents per kilowatt hour. I'm setting this thing up for 100% charge, which will get me about 300 miles, which you don't want to take the chance and go 300 miles to try to get there with 1 mile to spare. So I'm probably going to stop, and I don't know where Tesla's going to have me stop. I'm guessing the halfway mark is roughly either Columbia or Augusta. Maybe stop there for 20 minutes and fuel up. I'll be taking my 2 dogs, so they're going to have to stop and go to the bathroom, so no big deal for me. So I'll stop for 20 minutes, do a little top off of the charge, and maybe 20% more charge, which will be about 60 more miles, just to make sure I can get to my Airbnb with enough fuel, or enough charge, not fuel. And then the cool thing is the Airbnb I rented has a Tesla charger. That was one of the criteria we searched for, is we filtered out for Tesla chargers. And there were several, believe it or not. Now, we have a couple of vacation rentals in the Florida Keys, and yes, every single one of them has a Tesla charger. In fact, at one of our rentals, our neighbor next door has a Tesla Model Y, and he wanted to offer it for his guests as well. And my nephew and I went ahead and installed a Tesla charger for him. Even though we compete for the same customers, we don't consider competing, but we still have the same vacation rental right next door to each other. It's great. But on that key, Upper Mattacumby Key, which is a very popular key in Alamorada in Florida, there's only 3 homes with Tesla chargers, our 2 and my neighbor. So if you come to Alamorada, guess where you're staying if you have a Tesla? One of our homes. So we looked for Airbnb. We found one that has a Tesla charger. We're going to charge there for free. Now, a home charge to go from 0 to 300 miles is probably $15, It's not going to cost the host very much. It doesn't cost me very much to fully charge, but we'll be able to charge. And then again, on the way back, we'll probably stop either Augusta or Columbia. I hope, and I'm hoping on this, on the way back, there is a Buc-ee's in Florence, and Buc-ee's has a bunch of Tesla superchargers. I would love to try to push it and get to Florence and fill up my battery at Buc-ee's so I can get some of their brisket, get some drinks, use their clean bathrooms, let the dogs do their business. And for those of you who've never been to Buc-ee's, oh my God, you don't know what you're missing. It's the best place to get fuel ever. The best food, the best people, the cleanest bathrooms, plenty of parking, beef jerky, a wall of beef jerky. Any kind of food you want is just absolutely amazing. So hopefully you've heard why I think a Cybertruck is great for many people. Again, if you're towing a lot and going lots of miles, a couple hundred miles, you know, it's going to have an inconvenience because just like with a nice engine, you go through gas twice as fast, you'll go through a charge twice as fast. And it does take longer to charge. It takes half an hour to charge up versus, you know, a 5-10 minute stop at a gas station. But for the most part, I think with the 110 and 220 volt outlets that are here on the back bed of the truck, which I didn't even mention, but there's two 110 and a 220 volt right here in the bed. There's actually a 110 volt outlet in the back seat. And believe it or not, hidden behind this fender well is an air compressor. You put the attachment on and you've got an air compressor, okay? This truck has it all. And also too, even though you may not see a hitch receiver, right here, this plastic piece comes right off and you can tow, and I've towed with this. And I'll tell you, this truck for me makes sense, but get your spreadsheet out, see how much you're spending in gas, see how much you're spending in oil changes and tune-ups and everything else, and then look at what your electric bill is and look at how many kilowatts hours you're being charged by your electric company. Especially if you start moving to solar, you're going to start seeing some huge savings getting an EV, just like we saw with our Model 3, and that's why I went ahead and bought my Tesla Cybertruck. To me, this made financial sense. This wasn't to be cool. This is my work truck. I'm going to have, just like my Tundra, for 12, 13 years, and then I'll replace it at that point. So, hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As always, I want you to like, comment, subscribe. I want you to ask me questions. I want you to like this. I want you to subscribe to it. I want you to tell your friends about it. And I want to see you in a Tesla. And I want you to reach out and say, hey, Mark, give me that referral code for a Tesla because I'm getting one too. Thanks a whole bunch. We'll see you again next week.